Good afternoon and welcome to our St. Bonaventure's School Report. My name is Sean.
I am Nigel. The main headlines tonight are girls more clever than boys. We had a chat with our head teacher to view his thoughts.
Litter. How does the increase in litter affect our environment?
Self-driving cars. Could this be the solution to our pollution problems?
Jules Bianchi crashes in Australia. Does this change safety regulations in F1 forever?
We investigate Mars One scandal.
But first, we head over to Tunisia where a museum massacre took place. Would you be willing to go to Tunisia after these events took place?
Hello, and welcome to BBC School Report. Today, our top story, Museum Massacre.
Yesterday saw an attack on the Bardo Museum in Tunisia. The Bardo Museum is famous for its Roman mosaics and was attacked by two gunmen. 19 people were found dead and 17 of these were tourists. Those tourists included people from Japan, France, Italy, Spain, and Poland. A police officer was also killed in the incident. Security officers have been able to locate the two gunmen and they have been killed. Accomplices or people involved in any stages of the attack. This is Ben reporting from BBC News.
Tunisia is a place that relies heavily on tourism. After this catastrophic event, we asked boys and teachers how they felt about Tunisia and would they visit there ever again after this situation. So Miss, how do you feel about the Tunisian museum shootings?
Do you know, I was watching about it on the news earlier, and it really shocked me because Tunisia has always been a really stable country, and so I was really surprised to hear that this particular country is now also involved. Although there's been nothing that says who they think it was, they still think it was a terrorist attack. It really surprised me how close it was to the Parliament building as well, so quite upset about it.
Now, would you ever go to Tunisia after this shocking news?
I think I would. I think the Tunisian government are quite a strong government within the Middle East, and I think that they're a government that will recover. And tourism is such a big part of their industry that they really can't afford to lose it. So yes, I would go back to Tunisia.
Thank you very much.
How do you feel about the Tunisian museum shootings?
I think it's very scary that it happened in a public place and with lots of tourists rather than local people. So it kind of makes you think again about maybe visiting places like that.
And Miss, would it affect your choice of going to Tunisia?
I wasn't really planning on going there anyway, but I think it would probably make me think again. But the other side of it is that they need people to still go, like all countries need tourism, so it would affect them in other ways now if people choose not to go there. So in the future I probably would, but right now I don't think I would like to go.
Thank you very much.
The minimum wage has just been increased, but only by 20 pence. Does this really make a difference? Kelvin reports.
Today's top story revolves around the national minimum wage increase, which is due to start in October 2015. The government has promised a wage increase from £6.50 to £6.70, and the proposed plan was made official yesterday. The Prime Minister has stated the main reason for this is the increase in the economy, as the government believes they can now afford to give higher wages, which could result in a further increase in the economy. He said, "It will mean more financial security for Britain's family and a better future for our country." However, Labour disagrees, as Shadow Business Secretary Chuka Umunna said, "This 20p rise falls far short of the £7 minimum wage, which George Osborne promised over a year ago." Asked pupils in our school about their opinions of the increase.
Well, I think that is really good because getting a bit more money, even though it's by a little bit, is really good.
Does that 20p increase really make a difference to our everyday lives?
Well, I certainly do think it makes a difference because that 20p, say if you work, you might need to work just a little bit harder for that 20p. So I think it makes kind of an impact on people's lives.
Well, I don't really see much of a difference, but it could help in financial departments and help like to buy food for your family and kids, but not really much in a business department.
So conclusively, the people agree and everyone thinks it's a great idea and a great thing that the wages are increasing. But something that the parties maybe should think about for the forthcoming election is that are the increases nearly enough?
Studies saying that there is more litter on beaches than ever, particularly wet wipes. This is a report that our correspondent Nigel spoke to us about earlier.
Now, one of today's top stories is related to litter. Have you ever littered? Do you ever wonder where your litter goes? Find out now. There has been a recent increase in the amount of litter each year. These problems have really been appearing on the beaches, which can also affect the marine creatures that live in this environment. The density of plastic litter found on UK beaches has increased by 146% between 1994 and 2008. Small plastic pieces have been the #1 item found since 1998. Wet wipes litter on UK beaches have amplified by 50%. Specifically on the coast of Britain, there has been a rise of 6.4% from 2013 to 2014. Personally, I feel people need to be cautious where they put their litter. This can make a big impact to the world, and you can never know what will happen. Please put litter in the bin, and please encourage others to do so. Here at St. Bonaventures is all of us boys, but it seems girls are doing better. We posed a question to our head teacher.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm Melvin.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Tommy. From the BBC School News Report, and we'll be covering the controversial issue of gender stereotypes in schools. According to the OECD, in over 60 countries, girls are doing considerably better than boys in school. This is partially due to them marking up girls' work and rewarding them better.
This is also due to the amount of times boys spend playing video games. This can affect boys' attitudes towards homework and classwork.
Good morning, Mr. Halliwell.
Morning, Tim.
We're going to be talking about the topic of gender discrimination in schools. I would like to start by asking, what's your general outlook on the terms of girls being smarter than boys?
Right, it's not simply a case of girls being smarter than boys, it's more a case of boys and girls are different. And we have an educational system at the moment which seems to benefit girls much better than boys. And we have to acknowledge that across the whole of England there seems to be an issue that girls achieve better in examinations than boys do. So if you take, for example, the examination results in English GCSE last year, a very important GCSE, you need English to move on. Girls were approaching 70% getting either an A star to C grade in English, whereas boys were 50% only getting an A star to C in English. So we need to look in education in this country at what are we doing for boys, predominantly who are in a mixed school, to make sure that they can do as well as girls can.
Well, the OECD report that 60 countries that girls are performing better than boys. Is there any tips or methods of advice you could give to the students in this school, because we're all boys, on how to make the education system benefit us?
Simple answer to that one is, I'm going to ask you a question. Do the boys in this school do as well as girls in other schools?
Unfortunately, no.
They do. They do. Right. The St. Bonaventures is consistently in the top 3 schools across Europe. Last year, the 2 girls' schools and St. Bonaventures we're the best performing schools in Europe. And that's been consistent now for many, many years. So to answer your question, I'm going to say this very simply. And I've worked in mixed schools and I've worked in single gender schools. For boys, a single gender school is better for them. Boys seem to perform much better in a boys' school than they do in a mixed school. So much so that in the 1990s, when I was a head of science, I created single gender sets in science, separating the boys and the girls. It was a mixed school, but we had single sex lessons, and every time we did that, the boys performed better when they were on their own. And that's because what you can do is tailor the education to suit the needs of the boys. Girls seem to do okay in a mixed school, but certainly also do better when they are in a girls' school.
Oh, is that the reason why you decided to split the sixth forms up, you and Mr. Johnson? So that, not predominantly that girls will be going to the St. Angela's set of the sixth form and boys will be going to St. Juan's sixth form, but just to help boys, well, level out with the girls?
No, the changes that have occurred in the sixth form have occurred slowly over a period of 3 or 4 years now, and none of that has got anything to do with gender. That's got everything to do with managing the sixth form properly and making sure that we are more accountable for the results. So when I started here in 2010, for example, getting any kind of progress data for the girls and boys in the sixth form was very complicated. So what we've done now is we've taken ownership of our group of students, and we assess them and we measure their progress in the same way that we do with you in Year 9, which didn't always happen in sixth form. The sixth form is a mixed sixth form, and so this year and next year and forever onwards we'll have a good mix of boys and girls in St Bonaventure's sixth form, and that is because we actually believe that between the ages of 16 and 18 we need to make sure that boys and girls are enabled and are helped to develop good working relationships with each other. Now in our school we've been working for a long time to try and close the gap between the two genders, because it's true that in 2010 the girls in the sixth form did better than the boys, irrespective of where they were being taught. Right, it wasn't a case that the girls in St Angela's did better than the boys in St Bonaventure's, because the girls and boys were mixing between the two. So we've identified some key areas where we think that there are gaps in attainment, and we've worked on them over the last 4 or 5 years to make sure that those gaps are closing. So we are in a situation now where some years the girls do better than the boys, and then some years the boys do better than the girls. But we have made sure that our teaching style suits both at the sixth form.
Oh, thank you, sir, for your time.
Thank you, Tony.
Good morning, Miss Armstrong.
Good morning.
So, what is your opinion on the fact that girls are doing better than boys in school?
My opinion is this is what always happens, and unfortunately we've fallen into the trap of thinking that's always going to happen. But here at St Bonaventures we strive to make boys do as well as they possibly can.
Okay. Do you think that the fact that this has always been the case, it may affect the mental attitude of boys in school?
Oh, I think so. I think a lot of boys can become defeatist. But then it's our jobs as educators to get them engaged and learning the way they should do, and also to tailor the right courses for them and steer them towards the proper courses that they need to be on.
Okay, so that's what you think school should do to improve this?
Yes.
Why do you think this is?
Sorry?
Why do you think that girls perform better than boys in school?
I think girls are probably a little bit more mature than boys, and I think girls normally can think ahead. I have a daughter and she did think totally different to my 3 sons. She was always more able to look forward to see what she was doing, whereas boys I don't think mature till a lot later and decide till a lot later what they're going to do.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
To conclude, as we have heard from Mr. Halliwell, boys learn in more selective environments than girls. As Miss Armstrong said, girls mature faster than boys, and they think ahead into the future, thus making them primarily more focused in their education. We can all help by motivating boys to lead them into a better future.
Self-driving cars, handy, spooky, we don't know yet, but technology companies are promising there will be a reality soon. Here is Daniel and Rashan with the report.
Good morning, and today we will be talking to you about the latest and developing technology. Self-driving cars strive to reduce the amount of pollution and don't emit any form of carbon monoxide and save us the stress of driving. You may have heard of it, but have you seen it? Millionaire company Google has come up with a solution to help with the stress of driving. They have created the first unmanned car, but they won't put them on the roads till 2020. We've asked a variety of different people on their opinions of the unmanned vehicle.
That self-driving cars should be allowed to the public because it can bring the 21st century alive.
More science now, but we look up in the search for the sun. A solar eclipse is coming up and everybody seems excited, as Jaden and Anthony found out.
I'm Anthony and I'll be reporting today on the upcoming solar eclipse. A solar eclipse only occurs every 10 years. The solar eclipse of this significance was on 11th of August 1999 and was total with 100% of the sun covered when seen from Cornwall. Now over to Jaden and Ramiro. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
So what's your name?
I'm Mr. Cunningham and I'm teacher of science and physics here.
So what do you know about the solar eclipse?
So I know that on Friday morning, 9:30, the moon is going to pass in between the sun and the earth, and here in London we will be in the shadow of the moon. About 85% of the sun will be covered.
So do you think that we'll be able to see the eclipse?
Well, we are hoping that it will not be a cloudy day. If it's, fingers crossed, if it's not cloudy, we will get some good views of it. If it is, it's going to be a bit trickier. And if it's cloudy, we might see it get a bit darker as well.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
What's your name?
My name is Jess.
And what's your occupation?
I'm the school chaplain.
What do you feel about tomorrow's solar eclipse?
I'm actually quite excited about tomorrow's solar eclipse. I remember the eclipse from years ago when I was a teenager, and it was really quite cool. 10 years ago, I think. I'm quite excited about the whole idea of it kind of happening again. Although I'm quite sad that it won't be pitch black and it will just be kind of a little bit dull. I'm also quite sad that I've moved down south where I won't get to see as much of it. Because if I was still living up north, there would be much more of the sun covered. But I am quite excited because it's something that doesn't happen very often. So it's always good to get to see new things.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jaden. And to all the people who were interviewed, this solar eclipse is to be known as the supermoon eclipse. So everyone enjoy the eclipse and remember, as it comes, once every 10 years. Thank you again. Back to the studio.
Is it okay to risk a life on a racetrack, even for loads of money? Kyla looked at the story of driver Jules Bianchi.
My name is Kyla, and today we'll be discussing the latest F1 news, the difference between engine sizes, and the latest news on Jules Bianchi. Formula One companies are now trying to save the world by making cars hybrid and increasing the horsepower, therefore increasing their performance. I want to find out your point of view on the safety regulations of F1.
I think is that it's not safe because over 10 cars are driving over 100 miles per hour in the same lane have to try to win, and they're competing against each other, which could result eventually into crashing.
I think it's a little bit okay because maybe sometimes you may have incidents on cars like crashing or maybe engine problems through maybe anything on racetracks.
Would you ever consider being a racing car driver?
No.
Okay, thank you. The majority of ones say that safety regulations in F1 are unreasonable.
Last up, a weird story. Scan to go to Mars. Kai and Jamie investigate.
Hello, I'm Kai. And I'm Jamie. Today we're going to be talking about the Mars One scam and what Dr. Joseph Roche experienced during this process of applying on the programme. And whether or not some of the teachers would like to visit Mars someday. Joseph Roche, one of the candidates of the programme, who is also a PhD professor at Trinity College, which is in Dublin, He was quoted saying, "When you join the Mars One community, which happens automatically if you applied as a candidate, they start giving you points. You get points for getting through each round of the selection process, but just an arbitrary number of points and nothing to do with the ranking. And then the only way to get more points is to buy merchandise from Mars One or to donate money to." So we're here with Mr. Connolly, RE teacher and assistant head of Year 9. I'm just going to ask him a couple of questions. So, sir, would you ever like to visit Mars one day yourself?
I don't have any burning desire to go to Mars, but I have a lot of respect for those that do, and those that are trying to get there in the name of science and to develop our own understanding and exploration of the universe.
So do you see this programme overall as being a step forward in advances, or do you see it as somewhat stupid?
I don't think it's stupid at all. I think it's very brave, it's very noble of those that have put themselves forward in the name of science for the good of mankind. I think it's sad that it's a one-way ticket and that those people that put themselves forward for this know that they're never going to come back, they're never going to see their friends and families and loved ones again, but at the same time very noble and brave, I can say, all in the name of science and for the good of mankind.
Thank you, sir. Hello, I'm here with Mr. Ansu, our school's geography teacher. I just want to ask you a few questions, sir. So would you ever like to go to Mars?
I don't mind, I like adventure, I like taking risks. So if I get the offer, why not? Plus, I believe my students will also want me to share my experience from Mars. So,
that's good, sir.
To enrich my lessons, maybe I'll take the opportunity. So,
okay, thank you, sir.
That is the end of the school report 2015 from St. Bonaventures.
Good afternoon from me and Sean. Thanks for watching.